Gallagher coming home to Vancouver sounds like a sentimental story, right? But for the Canucks, it's actually the most genius asset management move they could possibly make in 2026. Most people, they see Gallagher as a 34-year-old with a $6.5 million cap hit and say, no way. But if you follow the Gallagher plan, Vancouver doesn't just get a veteran leader, they walk away with four distinct pieces of profit that could jumpstart this entire rebuild. Today, I'm breaking down the four-step strategy to get Gallagher from Montreal and turn him into a gold mine of future assets. Step one starts with a trade that you might not like, but it's the key to everything. Let's get into it right now. We're going to go over an article that talks exactly about this, a fantastic article written by Stefan Roger from Canucks Army, and he, of course, has it titled Why Brendan Gallagher Could Be Both an Asset and a Way to Get Assets for the Vancouver Canucks. We're going to skip over, the whole about Gallagher and his days as a Montreal Canadian being over. But we're going to talk about his ties to Vancouver. And of course, we know those are numerous. He was, as we mentioned in our previous video, born in Edmonton. He was raised in Tsawwassen and then spent 4 seasons with the Vancouver Giants, a team that also employed his father as a strength and conditioning coach for many, many years. There's always talk about bringing notable British Columbians back to the Canucks, but few have as many direct links to Vancouver hockey as Gallagher. But would bringing in Gallagher be the right move for these current Canucks? That is the big question. We think it could be under the right circumstances, and we also believe those circumstances are likely to play out in this ongoing 2026 offseason. It's, of course, no real mystery why Gallagher and the Canadiens are parting ways. He's still a beloved and respected leader and heart and soul individual for the Habs. You'll notice that in my comments of my first initial video talking about Brendan Gallagher. But they're now in the midst of their own competitive window, and Gallagher's $6.5 million cap hit no longer fits with their financial picture. It's a salary that Gallagher has always struggled to earn on his production alone, and now that he's down to a rate of just 7 goals and 23 points in 77 games this past regular season, and now that he's a regular healthy scratch like he was during the playoffs, it's become a downright onerous contract. Or I'm not even going to bother trying to repronounce that word. And the Canadiens need that money freed up for obviously other purposes. They've got about $11 million in cap space heading into 26-27. And with about 20 players signed for their NHL roster, they could probably get by with Gallagher still on the team. But that, of course, wouldn't leave much room for any additions or notable upgrades, especially if they are wanting to be competitive and compete this upcoming season. But after chasing the third round already this season, the Canadiens will be hungry to take that next step and perhaps get past the conference final. That means carving out enough room for those additions and upgrades that we just talked about. And that means parting ways with their most obvious cap casualty, that being Brendan Gallagher. Gallagher does, in fact, have a no movement clause, which prevents him being waived and or demoted to the minors without his consent. And I just don't see Montreal doing that. They're going to do right by him, as what has also been mentioned in the previous video in the comments. But he does not have a full no trade clause. Instead, he's got a very limited 6-team no trade clause. And as we've heard, because, the talk about Gallagher coming to Vancouver, clearly he would consider accepting a trade at this point to the Canucks. Clearly that shows that Vancouver is not on that 6-team no trade list. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. An overpriced cap dunk veteran winger from a fellow Canadian franchise. Doesn't that sound like deja vu or a little familiar from a year ago? Well, didn't we try this with Evander Kane last year and didn't it go absolutely terribly wrong? Yes. And I mentioned this in this previous video too, that honestly, I would have preferred if it had been Gallagher instead of Kane, us trading for him last year and giving up a draft pick for him. But that ended up not happening. And I guess perhaps maybe Gallagher and the Canadiens were maybe on better terms at that point. Who knows? It's just hearsay at this point. But it's true to a certain extent Gallagher is a very different player from Evander Kane, an individual at that as well. And we think a Gallagher acquisition has a chance to turn out a lot better than the Evander Kane one did. A lot better, actually. And perhaps a lot more profitable, too. Because remember how we were struggling to trade Kane at the deadline and before the deadline? I don't see us having an issue with that with Brendan Gallagher. And that's just my personal opinion. Now, this is what we call the Gallagher Plan. First, the Canucks would have to trade another veteran winger, perhaps a Jake DeBrusk. Maybe Brock Besser, who knows. Bringing in Gallagher can't come at the cost of another roster spot that could instead be going to a younger player. Gallagher makes sense as a replacement veteran, more so than an additional one. Chances are this veteran trade involves, like we just mentioned, Jake DeBrusk, but someone has to go. Let me know who you guys think in the comments, who this veteran winger that should leave and Gallagher should take his place. Let me know who you guys think that should be in the comment section down below. Assuming it is, Jake DeBrusk, you've got your first bit of profit in this sequence of events. DeBrusk gets traded for, say, a couple of second-round picks, and the Canucks are a few assets richer. The second bit of profit would come from the Gallagher acquisition itself. As we said, the Canadiens are fairly eager to cut cap. We also imagine they're eager to do right by Gallagher, someone who has put in 14 good seasons with that franchise. If he wants to go to Vancouver specifically, Montreal will want to make it happen, and they will probably, as we said, do right by Gallagher. And if he says, I want to go to Vancouver, they will help facilitate that. Also, I saw a tweet from, I believe it may have been Rick Dollywall. Montreal has allowed Gallagher's agent to seek a trade. So that is a little bit tidbit of news. Habs, of course, are fairly flush with picks and prospects, even now that they've begun to compete. It shouldn't be too much of an ask for them to pay Vancouver a token price for taking on Gallagher as a cap dump. That price might only be a third-round pick or something like that, but that's still an additional asset for the Canucks' collection. As another thing that was mentioned in the comments of that Gallagher video I posted previously, there was an idea that perhaps Montreal could retain salary on Gallagher, although they might not want to do that because of them wanting to dump his cap. Plus, Vancouver could easily take on his entire salary. Then comes what we'll term the developmental profit. By all accounts, Gallagher has had a tremendous positive impact on the new Canadiens core, both on the ice and off the ice, as well as a mentor. That's something that the Canucks' own current crop of youngsters could very benefit from. There are also traits that Kane just didn't bring to the table. And another reason to believe that the Gallagher acquisition would go a lot differently than the Kane one a year ago. Gallagher and Kane also differ in their league-wide reputation. We've seen what the rest of the league thought of Kane by the most recent trade deadline, as I mentioned earlier. But Gallagher, despite his decade plus as a renowned agitator, has plenty of respect around the NHL, and that could very well lead to a fourth and final bit of profit for the Vancouver Canucks. His contract expires after this year, which means he will enter the 26-27 season as a pending UFA. That could allow the Canucks to sell Gallagher off for a playoff run with a contender at or near the 2027 trade deadline. And if they're willing to use some retention on him at that point, remember, cap is going up, they could get something actually significant back for Gallagher. Presumably, Gallagher would have been fed some of, say, DeBrusk's minutes in the interim, including on the power play, and might have juiced his stats up a little bit. A rental warrior who can play in all situations and on special teams could be a hot ticket at deadline time, and at the very least should be a hotter ticket than Kane was. Gallagher's 6-team no-trade clause shouldn't be much of an obstacle, especially not with his latest move being only for a matter of months. So, just to sum up the whole sequence we have, first up, Canucks trade a veteran winger, bringing back future assets. That is profit number one. Profit number two, get a small sweetener back from the Canadiens for taking on Gallagher. That's profit number two. Then the Canucks benefit from having Gallagher around for most of the season as a mentor and an on-ice good example. That's profit number three. Then the Canucks sell Gallagher to a playoff contender at the 2027 trade deadline for more future assets. That, of course, being profit number four. We realize that it's a lot easier said than done, but it's also the exact sort of efficient asset management that a team like the Canucks, attempting to begin a rebuild while still relatively asset poor, need to be employing. Moves like this are part of how the Canadiens got their own rebuild up off the ground and so quickly. There's no better time for the Canucks to start making similar moves than now. The Gallagher opportunity seems almost custom made for their current needs, and the Canucks should not pass this opportunity up. It sounds like something that would work out in their favor, in the Canadiens' favor, and in Gallagher's favor as well. It's a win-win-win scenario, but one in which the Canucks would be profiting the most and a few times over. So I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think about this 4-step strategy when it comes to acquiring Brendan Gallagher? Do you see much difference between this and the Evander Kane trade that happened about a year ago? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section down below. And also, if you guys enjoyed this video, on your way out, you can like the video and subscribe to The Line Change for more Canucks and draft-related content. I got lots more content on the way for you guys. You can also become a member of The Line Change and you can receive exclusive perks and members-only videos, as well as early access to videos such as like this one. Go ahead. All you got to do is hit the join button. It's completely up to you. But once again, like and subscribe on your way out. And of course, before I sign off, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. The Stanley Cup playoffs are here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has a new customer offer. When the ice gets coldest, the best players in the world show you exactly who they are. Playoff warriors turn it up round by round, and DraftKings turns it up with them from the first round all the way to the Stanley Cup final. Bet player props, bet live from the opening faceoff to the final horn. Every moment matters. New DraftKings customers bet just $5 and you'll get $100 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN so you're ready for the moment. That's code THPN. Turn $5 into $100 in bonus bets instantly in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Limited time offer.
Once again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.